Today we are looking at the second half of John chapter 12. This is a passage that sometimes is referred to as the little Gethsemane because you have Jesus experiencing some of the agony that he is going to experience in the Garden of Gethsemane on the night that he was betrayed. So this is the last sort of public ministry opportunity that Jesus has, and it's worth paying attention to what he says. So verse 27 and 28 is where we hear him say, "Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say?" The Message has a paraphrase of this. The Message is a paraphrase. "Right now I am shaken, and what am I going to say? Father, get me out of this? No, this is why I came in the first place. I'll say, Father, put your glory on display." So I hope you're moved by the dynamic here and by the fact that Jesus is wrestling with the weight of what is coming his way. And he's working hard to be in the right space, to be positioned, right, to get his head in the game, right, to have a sense of being totally yielded to God, and because he's about to bear the punishment for our sin, and this will be the most horrific. I don't think we have to say that Jesus suffers physically on the cross more than anyone else suffers. I don't know that that's true. That claim is never made. But I do think we can say that no one suffers more intensity than Jesus does, because he is going to, although he's perfect, he is going to be made sin and then suffer the wrath of God against sin. And so the emotional, spiritual, existential pain and crisis of that, I believe, eclipses that of any other suffering of any other person. So now, our trials are never going to approach Christ's trial, but you will go through trials, and it's worth just reflecting on our trials and how we might navigate them. Most of the time when we're in a trial, we just want it to be over. It's certainly my approach. I was interacting with a fraternity brother recently, and I had given him one of the books I'd written, and he was just reflecting. He was a big runner, a very decorated, celebrated varsity runner. We did not run together. I could not have kept up with him for 50 yards. But he talks about, still to this day, the value of the daily run, which he calls the daily suffer. And you run to sort of suffer and to learn to navigate that pain. And I thought that's why he's a was a very celebrated runner, and I never was, because I always think, when can I stop? We want to get out of these trials as quickly as we can. But I think there's an opportunity here to say, what if I look for ways for God to be glorified in this trial, in my sickness, if I lose my wealth, in my poverty, if I lose my reputation, in my humiliation? Is there a way that I can try and make God glorified even in that? So the passage will go on. This is one of the 3 times that we hear God speak audibly from heaven to Jesus. The first 2 is where he basically says, "This is my son whom I love," right after the baptism, and then at the transfiguration. And I think there's something for fathers to hear here, because you have the words of a father to his son affirming him. Many men, I certainly was in that camp, desperate to hear the affirmation of their dads. So there's that. But then here we have the audible voice of God speaking to his son, and they say it's like thunder. And the other people sort of suggest that they're not hearing what God is saying, but we've got some of that going on here. Finally, the passage just strikes me in that it says that Jesus cries out under the weight of what's approaching him. And then he goes on to preach his last sermon publicly. And there's obviously a sense of urgency about this, sort of like when Mortarboard, that academic honorary, holds a last lecture series on a college campus and gives a professor, what's the last thing that you want to say? There's a sense in which we get some of Jesus' last lecture here, and he is saying, I'm the light of the world, right? I am here on a mission. I am here to rescue and redeem. I am here for you to follow me, join with me. And so we get Christ's last message here. Powerful passage. Hope you enjoy it. Have a good day.